Well, welcome to Circuit Breaker. This segment is designed to show you guys what we're like away from the circuit, what we enjoy doing away from the circuit. But as you can see, 2 days after the Adelaide 500, and you can now see what my life's going to be like away from the track. Benjamin Charles Barguana. He's ace. He is so cute. I was nervous sitting on the grid at Bathurst last year, confronted with what was atrocious conditions in it, and turned out to be a great day. But it just was nothing like waiting to meet my child for the first time. Commodore. That's right. Commodore. Well, I reckon Ben's going to be ace because he's every time you talk about cars, he loves them. Right. Turn this up there, fold that one this way, you flip that over there, you fold that in half, you fold it in half again, and there you have it ready to go. Now for a newborn, yes! I couldn't believe it. I was just crying to see my baby born, and something I'll never forget. Big yawn.
Our house. Beware, the Barguanas are spreading. Well, what an interesting start to the opening round. Craig Lowndes doing the business, and here's how they finished. Some interesting manoeuvres here. Paul Radisich, having qualified 15th, finished 7th. Brad Jones, a terrific performance up from 24th. Tony Longhurst, he qualified back in 31st. He finishes 12th. And poor Glenn Seaton, who was in 4th position on the grid. Look at that, he's down in 17th. He was trapped by that safety car in the Paul Romano incident. But Craig Lowndes was the winner. Now here's Grant.
Well, Craig Lowndes, this phenomenal start to the year, it continues. Fantastic drive.
Thanks, Grant. Obviously, it wouldn't be able to do what I did there just then without the guys and the support of the Gibson guys. It's fantastic. It's probably the best way to drive. It could really thank the guys and their hard-earned effort. And, every outing we're getting stronger and stronger. The car's getting better, and, this is sort of what proves it.
Did you see the crowd out there as you crossed the start-finish line? Everybody was on their feet. You must have been able to hear it inside the car almost.
Well, yeah, I sort of saw the crowd. I was probably too focused on the guys. They're all over the wall. They're wrapped. Like, this is, as I said, the best way we, as a driver, can really appreciate and show our sort of, I guess, our best efforts is to go out and win races. And, the guys have done some fantastic work, and really this is what pays off.
Still, those pit stop strategies are so important, and the Gibson team never seemed to let you down there. Came in first. Was that a good strategy? Is that something that you can play each race?
Well, it's something we're playing around with. Obviously, I was stuck in traffic early on in the race, and Marcus passed me, and we let him go, and really couldn't do much about it. This circuit sort of doesn't lend itself too much because the cars are so competitive and so equal at the moment. But really, the pit stops were very, very important.
And how's the car for race 2?
Yeah, really good. At least all in one piece is still on the road, and looking really good. We got some tyres to obviously to play around with now and go out and do it again.
Thanks, Craig. Best of luck.
Thanks, Grant. Thanks.
Well, the car's certainly in one piece, but we hear from down in the pit lane area that already they're making some very subtle changes to that car, so no rest for the wicked. There's an enormous crowd here at Eastern Creek enjoying some fabulous racing. Now, we talked before about the fact that Paul Radisich had done a tremendous job moving up from the 15th position on the grid to finish 7th in that race. He's with Barry Sheen.
Yeah, I'm here with Paul Radisich. Now, that was a good race, Paul.
It was, Barry. It was all about strategy and coming into the pit at the right time. And, the guys called a great stop and in and out, and 15th to 7th. Great to be 6th, but, 7th was good. We're very pleased with that.
The car looks a bit of a handful.
Yeah, it is around here, and, I haven't got the balance right. I mean, it was the same last year, even though we won the race last year. I just can't quite get the balance here. I'm really fighting with it. So I think it's just the radius corners, and, we don't do a lot of testing on these radius corners, and today we haven't got it right.
I've got to talk about Adelaide. Now, Adelaide, that was, I think, some of the most spectacular footage I've ever seen.
Well, I've had a lot of emails, I must admit, after that, and some complimentary and others not. So that's the way it goes. Hey, I was out there giving my best shot, and, we made the stop, and I was really struggling with fumes in the car, and I could feel myself getting tired again, and I was just pushing a little hard, tabbed the wall, and broke the rear suspension. And, it was my fault, but, I was giving it a go. I mean, if I dropped to 3rd, I would have dropped to 10th because everybody was behind, and I was just giving it, my best shot.
Well, you're a racer, aren't you? That's what the name of the game. Now, the thing with Scafie, a lot of people said to me, well, how comes Radisich didn't get, fined, penalised? What was your reading of it?
Well, it was a racing incident, and it's one of those things. I was behind Mark for around about 10 laps, and he was really holding me up, and he admitted later that he was holding me up, and I guess I misjudged it slightly, and I relied on Mark's professionalism to perhaps just move over and let me by. Yeah. We both misjudged. I tabbed him, and it was my fault. I had him behind, but I think the judges, they were actually going to black flag him or give him the pull-over flag anyway, and I guess they weighed it up and thought, well, you know, it was one of those things.
I think the thing is with the officialdom at the moment, it's consistently inconsistent, isn't it? That's the problem.
Well, it's a hard call either way. Some days it works for you and other days it doesn't. And, you know, from my point of view, maybe that was the right call, and from others it wasn't. But they've got to assess things on the day, and that's what they did, you know. Hey, it'll be my turn next time, you know.
Best luck in the next one.
Hey, thanks, Barry. Appreciate it.
Slice of a monster crowd at Eastern Creek for round 3 of the Shell Championship Series. We're getting set for race number 2. Look at them. Tens of thousands, and the field is out on the starting line and away on their warm-up lap. Warming their tyres as they go around this 3.93 kilometre circuit, and here is how they will line up. And note, there have been some changes. Greg Murphy will start from pole from Mark Scaife, Jason Bright, John Bow, Paul Radisich, Brad Jones, Paul Morris and Paul Wheel.
Now, you might have seen Craig Lowndes and Marcus Ambrose finish 1-2 in Heat 1. They've been moved down the order. We'll get to that just after this grid read. There's been some major controversy here at Eastern Creek this afternoon. 16th is Todd Kelly.
Glenn Seaton heads up the next group. Tratt, Bernard, Tander, Dulman, Larkham, Ingle and Perkins.
And they keep on coming. Cameron McConville and Stephen Ellery, Dean Canto and John Faulkner, Trevor Ashby, Paul Romano, Jason Bargwana and Tyler Macklin in 32nd.
For only the second time in the history of the V8 Supercar Championship, a heat victor has been stripped of his race win. Here's how it happened. We jump aboard with Craig Lowndes. This is in race 1. Now, for those of you that have access to widescreen digital television, you may be able to pick this up. There is a safety car board being shown here, and in the left of your screen, a yellow flag where Greg Murphy's car enters turn 2. Craig Lowndes didn't see it. He passed Murphy. For that move, he copped a 29-second or the equivalent of a stop-go penalty, dropping him to 12th for the start of this race.
Similar news down into Stone Brothers pit. It's for this incident too, for Marcus Ambrose, and that touch right there up the back of Greg Murphy. Officials have deemed that illegal, and therefore he'll be bumped back to grid number 13 for race 2.
Yeah, all they've got to do now is be consistent. OK, they've responded to everybody's criticism from Adelaide that they consistently inconsistent. So now they've dished out penalties and effectively mucked up the second race. But, you know, they've got to, the next time round, there is an infringement by one of the big teams, then don't think they're not going to be reminded if they don't do something.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation, isn't it? The stakes are just getting higher and higher in V8 Supercar racing all the time. The demands from both the teams is to have these consistency of rulings.
I think the issue here also is that given that Lowndes is blindsided on the wrong side of Murphy when the board comes out at a critical moment when your approach speed's 220 kilometres an hour, we now have to concentrate on implementing with much greater speed the system that's been talked about for a while, which is the yellow lights coming on in the car, so that the precise moment that the safety car boards are activated at race control, every single person up and down the paddock, including the drivers, knows actually what's going on.
Well, in all fairness to Craig Lowndes, you're doing 150, 160 mile an hour around the first left-hander. You're looking at the hairpin. Murphy comes out the pits. The last thing you're looking at is looking over to the left on the left-hand side of Murphy's car for the flag position.
Well, in fact, it's even more so because you're determined to get in front of him. You're fighting for track position because you know that if you don't outbrake him going down into that corner, you'll spend the rest of the race behind him.
So here's the man with it all to do. Craig Lowndes goes from pole position, where he should have started, if not for that penalty. He goes back to 12th on the grid, and Marcus Ambrose has also ruled a stop-go penalty for that hit in the back of Murphy. He goes back to 13th. So the two forwards that finished 1-2 are now 12th and 13th with a lot of work to do. But we've got pit stops and things to come up. A lot more to unfold in this race.
I frankly doubt his ability to have been able to pull up even if he had seen it, and I believe him when he says that he certainly hadn't seen it. But they're the rules. They've been implemented. We criticised officials at the top of the show for not having the you-know-what to do the job.
Then they've now got to keep it up, haven't they?
And now they've got to keep it up. So
the sad part about it is they can make all the muck-ups, there's no redress, and basically they can ruin somebody's championship chances, and there's no redress against the officials, are there? Is there? Are there? Were there? Was there?
Grid set. We've got a great rivalry here now between the Kmart Racing Team and Holden Racing Team on the front row of the grid. Who's going to win the race to turn 1?
Murphy gets the jump. Scaife slots across to the left. One of the Shell cars up the inside very quickly. Slightly messy grid as they go through turn 1. Lots of dust and grass being kicked up. Murphy's got a huge margin going down to turn 2.
Hopefully it's a nice clean getaway as they sweep down through that very fast turn one. Hard under brakes for the second turn.
Oh, look at this.
And there's one in trouble already.
Oh, it's one of the
Paul Wheel. K&J thermal car gets out on the dirt, manages to gather it up. Looks relatively clean now as they swing through turn 3. Murphy drops the wheel off the edge of the track. Big puff of dirt there. And looking back in the pack, there's Marcus Ambrose. He got the jump, in fact, on Craig Lowndes.
Brad Jones has got a very good start as well. I think he'd be up around 5th or 6th thereabouts in the Aussie Mail entry.
It's taken him the whole break to wipe the smile off his face. It's the first bit of luck he's had this year.
So Murphy punches up Corporate Hill. There's Scaife in second. His teammate Jason Bright doing what he did. Adelaide working his way up. He's had a difficult start to the weekend, and the car's got better and better as the race day has progressed. Oh, a bit of a contact there between Canto and Wheel.
3 into 2 does not go.
Hard under brakes down through turn 9. The sharp 180-degree hairpin. All the cars starting to get in a single file formation as they swing back toward the main straight for the first time.
How's the cold tyre gallop from Murphy and Scaife in the opening lap? They have absolutely put daylight between themselves and the third place car. The leaders coming onto the start pretty straight. Here's the points after race 1. Bright 8:20, Scaife 7:55, Johnson, Ingle, Kelly and Murphy. So it's Murphy that leads them across the line. The Holden fans come to life. Scaife in second.
Nearly 2 seconds they pulled out in one lap.
Bright is third. Then we've got Radicic, Jones, then Bow, and the word from the pit lane is that Greg Murphy has been given a stop-go penalty for creeping at the start.
Wow.
Yeah, me.
These officials certainly reacted big time. They are coming down tough on anyone. Stop-go penalty.
Mark Scaife will become our new race leader. What a recovery after yesterday's qualifying.
I hope Murphy's got holes drilled in the side of his helmet, because there is going to be steam coming out of that helmet.
Next lap. Go past this lap and then come in next lap.
Okay, that's the word from Rob Crawford, the Kmart Racing team manager. And Murphy will be pretty steamed up about that one. Just got what he considered was fair justice for the incident with Marcus Ambrose after race 1. Now he's been dealt the same tough blow by the officials.
I didn't see his start relative to the lights, but relative to Mark Scaife, he was definitely creeping.
So Scaife now, is he going to inherit the lead of this one? Keep in mind, we've got compulsory tyre change coming up between laps 8 and 18. So there's plenty more could unfold in this drama-packed weekend at Eastern Creek Raceway. You're riding with Mark Scaife, the reigning Shell Series champion. He would have had the word now that Murphy has to attend this stop-go penalty. So he won't be pushing too hard to try and get in front of the Kmart car. The order at the moment is Murphy, Scaife, Bright, Radicic, Brad Jones. Great start from the Aussie Mail Ford. He's in 5th. John Bow in 6th. Cameron McLean in 7th.
And they've shown the black flag now to Murphy. Here is the start. You see him creeping relative to Scaife, but of course we're not seeing the lights. But officials have adjudged that to be a jump start. It's another grey area in the sport at the moment.
Gee, I think if you advertised a job as a V8 Supercar official in the paper now, you wouldn't get many takers, would you? It's going to be the toughest job in the business at the moment.
Well, it's not really. If you're consistent, is it? At the end of the day, I mean, there would be no criticism if everybody was treated in the same way for the same offence.
Bowes moved up to 5th. Brad Jones back to 6th. Let's go through the order. It's McLean, then Morris, then Richards, Ambrose, then Longhurst, McDougall, Kelly, Glenn Seaton, Stevie Johnson, Garth Tander, David Bernard, Russell Ingle, Cameron McConville, Jason Bargwana. It's your top 20.
Can't see. Now Lowndes is there, but he's not showing. Not showing up on our timing monitor for some reason. But he's in there. You can see him sitting in behind the Pertec Ford. So hopefully they'll sort that problem with the official timing system and get Lowndes back on the board. But there he is, sitting in behind Marcus Ambrose, supposedly in 11th place. So these guys have been dealt a tough blow. The equivalent of, should explain that, the stop-go penalty they were awarded. The officials deem that a stop-go penalty here is worth 29 seconds in terms of race time. Here comes Murphy now to serve his stop-go, flying down to pit lane.
Steam coming out the roof.
And now he has to stick to this regulated 60-kilometre-hour speed limit in pit lane.
Well,
Greg Murphy would be absolutely fuming with this. Car 51 comes in. Ray Robbins standing wide. Murphy given the stop-go penalty. Boy, that was a bit rusty, that, wasn't it? I'm not sure whether he got the...
Well, I just saw Ray Robbins showing him the red again.
Same here.
I think he's going to get called back in again. I don't think he actually came to a complete stop. You saw Ray Robbins turn the lollipop from green back to red again.
You're right, Mark, in my opinion. Yeah, I would definitely say you're right.
He didn't come to a complete stop.
There's no doubt about that, because Ray flipped it over again, didn't he?
Well, there you are. There's Ray Robbins and Tony Manson from Avesco. Greg Rust is on the spot as well, and he'll give us the story there. But didn't look like Ray Robbins was happy at all with that stop-go.
We must remind Rusty to comb the back of his hair just in case shots like this ever actually bob up in the telecast.
Well, drama upon drama for Greg Murphy and the Kmart Racing team. Mark Scape now is your race leader. Jason Bright takes over second, so it's an HRT 1-2. Paul Radisich in third. Now, we believe this coming together between Ray Robbins, now Rob Crawford, the Kmart Racing Team manager, is down there having a deep discussion, so there's plenty of bluing going on here in pit lane.
Can do.
I believe Greg Rust's got the story.
Well, I can tell you, boys, that it has been given the OK. Team boss Rob Crawford came down to have a word with Ray Robbins and some of the officials here. They said, well, Rob Crawford's words were, look, you got it a bit inconsistent with this paddle, which has got a red and a green on it. Green for go, red for stop for that stop-go penalty. In the end, they conceded it was a stop-go. It's been completed. Murphy's back out there.
Well, the whole point of it is to penalise him for his start, and he's certainly been penalised. All we have to do is have a look at a lap chart.
Well, drama upon drama. What an afternoon at Eastern Creek Raceway. Boy, oh boy. So now he gets shuffled right back in the pack.
Ambrose and Lowndes up to 9th and 10th now.
I'm just trying to see where Murphy is in the overall scheme of things.
He's buried.
He's almost off. He's off our timing screen at the moment, so he's gone virtually right to the back of the pack. He's got to try and fight his way up before these compulsory stops start now.
I have to say that the judge of fact for this championship season for the starts has been judging them more leniently than in the past. That was one issue that was brought up at the end of last year by a lot of team managers, that in some instances races were genuinely spoiled. I can think of one, and for no apparent reason. But if he has actually jumped away now, it must have been such that it was absolutely clear and no grey area about it.
I think you can be pretty sure that Murphy's going to be one of the first cars in for his compulsory stop. There's no point in sitting back there in that queue, right at the back of the pack. He was 29th last time around, so he's gone right to the back of the order.
I think you'll find, Mark, that a load of them, as soon as the 8 laps comes up, everybody and their aunt is coming in, because a lot of them got caught with their trousers down last time.
That's right. So the order: Scape, Bright, Radisich. Scape's been the fastest on the circuit so far with a 33.4.
Well, we've had our man Nigel Greenway on the job. Gee, he's sharp, this guy. Remember, the officials deemed that 29 seconds was considered a stop-go penalty. Well, we've just done the sums on those in and out laps with Murphy. It was in fact 21 seconds. So maybe their judgments of what a stop-go penalty was are a bit severe as well. The officials coming down hard here at Eastern Creek. Here's Brad Jones in 5th position. This is a great performance so far from the Aussie Male Ford team.
And from Cameron McLeod as well.
Indeed.
So it just shows you what track position can do. Many of these cars that we don't see that often, it's not necessarily that they're off the pace, but they're not quick enough in qualifying.
Yeah,
you actually give them a break with some fresh air, they're not too bad.
Yeah, Paul Bradley's not doing so well out there. He's a bit crook apparently, Kim.
Yeah, he is. It's a fine sunny day at Eastern Creek. There's lots of people, V8 Supercars and Aussie Male cars at the front of the pack, or towards the front from where we've been. But Bradley's quite sick. Has been ill all day, on and off the toilet, vomiting and diarrhea and everything. So he's struggling a bit. But being a racing car driver and being where we are, and having the Aussie Male Ford in 5th position, last time I looked, yeah, he'll persevere on with it.
It's just changed. McLeod's just gone past, but it still has been a great job today. 26th to 5th in the first race. What a job.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky, and even when the race finished, we still seem to make up a couple of spots. So hopefully we'll hang in there, have another good pit stop, and move forward. I'd like to move forward another 26 spots.
Well done.
Thank you.
After getting passed by Cameron, Bradley might be heading back to the
loo, I think.
Well, look at the queue behind him, and included in that is our Race winner from race 1, Craig Lowndes. Marcus Ambrose just in front of him. Paul Morris and the big Gab Commodore. Look at that queue there.
Cara Bradley's rolling around its nose a lot through turn 2. Shell Helix replay shows McLean's move on Jones. He gives him a little bit of a hello and welcome.
And he gives a few more as well.
And Bradley just starts to take a bit of ground off him here, just to see whether he could argue it. But Cameron already had track position and had the corner exit speed to get the business done.
He's our race leader, Mark Scaife. All damage here for David Bernard.
Bernard. God, he's having a terrible season so far.
Absolute shocker. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong for this bloke. He actually started to get a fair bit of speed out of this car by the finish of qualifying yesterday. But really, once again, the race day is a disaster. Mark Scaife, though, is leading this one 4.5 seconds in front of his teammate, Paul Radisich and John Bowe. Good performance from Bowe in the catboard. Cameron McLean and Brad Jones, equally strong performance. Stephen Richards and Marcus Ambrose fighting his way back 13.
And in 9th position, we've got Lowndes, Morris, Kelly Seaton, Longhurst, Johnson, Tander and Ingle. Hope you're enjoying race 2 from Eastern Creek. We're back in a moment. Back to Eastern Creek, and we're working lap 8 of 26, watching Mark Scaife absolutely brain them at the moment, heading round towards turn 7 behind the dam. This monster crowd watching proceedings this afternoon. It looked like it could have been an all-blue afternoon. It suddenly turned a bit red. And Mark Scaife's the guy in control at the moment when you consider how things went for him in qualifying yesterday in the shootout, where he made a mistake, got both pedals, the gas pedal and the brake pedal, and shot off at turn 2, qualified 10th. You thought, well, it might be all over, but not the case. Don't forget, next weekend, if you happen to be in the northeastern Victorian area, at Winton, round 3 of the Konica Championship Series for V8 Supercars. That's next Sunday at Winton Motor Raceway.
It's quite incredible how good the HRT cars are on cold tyres, isn't it? You look at quite amazing, 2 seconds in a lap.
They got away quickly. So the theoretical pit window is open, and we'll see who does what now to see whether they can make some track position.
Paul Radisich has just been consistent through the day, clawing his way up through the field. Now he's pretty handily placed in 3rd.
He's been pretty sort of quiet in his on-track demeanour compared to Adelaide, but it's a good haul of points if he can stay in this position.
Well, he dumped an enormous opportunity to score some points at Adelaide. Now he finds himself right down the order.
Do you know, the funny thing is now, everybody was thinking everybody was going to come in on the 8th lap, so forth. Thought, no, we won't do that because of a traffic jam. There's no one come in yet.
Well, that's what happened at Canberra last year.
Well, I guess they're waiting for a safety car on some sort of incident. They can try and blaze in just before the safety car comes out on the track. That's always the way to really take advantage of it.
Yeah, but you typically don't get those in these sprint races. You do in the longer events, but she's a serious gamble when you're gambling on a safety car in an event like this.
Well, we had one in Heat 1. I wonder if there's team managers out there with their fingers crossed. Will they take the gamble? Everyone's still grinding around at their lap 9 of 26.
It's that next bunch of cars. These guys have got clear air at the moment, so no hurry to bring them in, but it's that next crop of cars where there's sort of half a dozen people all sort of vying for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and beyond.
It's a very encouraging result for the Caterpillar Ford team. Now that John Bowe is thrilled with the performance of this car. They dropped it on the tarmac first time during the week up at Queensland Raceway. Ground around at 80 laps. It was very fast. Straight to the box. Here comes Mark Scaife for his compulsory tyre change. So the race leader's off early. Slows down to the compulsory 60k speed limit.
So teammate Jason Bright inherits the lead. It's really fractured the race, these penalties that were applied between races 1 and 2. It certainly changed the feeling of what we thought we were going to get in these races. Looks like a pretty good stop for the boys from HRT.
Everyone's flying in now.
Everybody in their auntie now. Look at
60k's, mate, 60k's.
Reminder to Mark to monitor his speed on the exit.
Plenty of cars coming into pit lane now.
Oh, yeah.
look at that.
Started a rash.
One of the other issues that I think is going to bob up from time to time at certain events is I don't think if we get a big crop of cars in pit lanes, we're actually going to fit them all.
Yeah. Look at Canberra. I mean, that's going to be a nightmare.
You know, if they all come in, and it's pretty much like that in there at the moment as we watch race leader Jason Bright, there's not going to be any room to actually get them all in nose to tail.
Bright is our race leader. His teammate Mark Scaife has already pitted. The winner of the Adelaide 500 3 weeks ago on the streets of Adelaide. Knocking this brand new Holden Racing Team Commodore into shape this weekend. So there he is. There's second place, Paul Radicic. Still hasn't made his compulsory stop like the race leader. We're on board with the Shell 18 Ford. Paul Radicic. Said earlier in the day he wasn't happy with the balance of the Shell Ford. Here comes our race leader.
Followed by Radicic.
So first and second peel off as well. John Bauer takes over, unless Bowie decides to come into the pits as well. So we're just waiting for positions to unfold here.
Here goes Radicic.
Holden Racing Team, well drilled. Bright gets back into the action. Radicic waiting for the Shell Ford team to do the same. And he's had his exit almost blocked by one of the FTR cars. That's the trouble. It's very, very tight in this pit lane. It was originally built for motorcycle racing or motorcycle garages. As a result, very narrow.
Brighty got out in front of Paul. Their stop was a good couple of seconds quicker. You probably see a margin here.
So we're just waiting for the timing monitor trip. We don't have the advantage of a split timing system as we had at Adelaide to keep you better posted on who's doing what. So we have to wait until these cars complete this lap to give you a more accurate update on who's doing what.
Cautiously forceful is what's required from the driver's seat at this moment. There's the front end of David Bernard's Caltex Haviland car with a lot of damage. They're putting a new nose cone on it. Damage to the brake ducting and some of the radiator ducting. Yeah, you have to be careful on cold tyres, but not too cautious that you're too slow. You can't afford to throw the car off the road, quite obviously.
So Lowndes up to third, I should say, on the track now.
No, it's go. Well, David Bernard has been in for quite a lengthy stop here. I've just had a word to some of the boys in the team here. There was apparently, according to them, contact with Jason Barguana around the back of the circuit. And as you can see, the Caltex Haviland Ford has sustained major damage to the front left. A very long and costly stop for David Bernard. But guys, I cannot recall pit lane being as busy as it has been down here today.
It's good strategy at the moment. Lowndes is just out on a clear track, putting in plenty of fast laps. You can see he's pushing pretty hard here.
His last time through, he did a 34.5, which is not bad with 11 laps in the book.
Yeah, this is the smart way to do it.
Gee, the weekend has gone a bit pear-shaped for the Stone brothers after starting on pole position, Marcus Ambrose, and then, you know, you'd have thought that he was going to start on the front row in this event and really get that result that was expected. And now they've got their other car in the wars in the pit lane getting some band-aids applied, so real frustration for Ross and Jim.
So many times we've seen it in the Shell Championship Series over the years with the Ford teams. They start off well, the weekend starts out great for them, but whether it's a clash with officialdom or shooting themselves in the foot, they always seem to run into bother when the race is on and really comes to the crunch. But they're still fighting hard here. Craig Lowndes is now our race leader.
As you say all the time, you've got a nice clear track in front of you. There's no. The only downside is that you could be out there when
a safety car comes.
And it just blows a mammoth great hole.
So he's got a few. 20 seconds. You can see the split Craig Lowndes has over Mark Scaife, who has already pitted. So Scaife second on the road, but he's going to be a race leader if he gets the overlap here.
Standing by for this stop with Craig Lowndes. Let's keep an eye. Mark Scaife making his way across the start-finish line now. So Scaife will take the lead. You can hear the Holden fans cheering. This is a good stop, though, by the Gibson Motorsport crew. Off the jacks and onto the deck, Craig Lowndes rejoins the track, but he will not take the race lead. Bernard has gotten out of his car in disgust, and there's problems also for Stephen Richards in the second FTR Ford.
Well, Lowndes and the Gibson team did everything they could under that situation when they had a nice clear track ahead of them, try and get some track position.
And the other significant thing there, they had a nice clear pit lane, which is pretty vital as well. So he comes out in front of McLean and Ambrose, so the Ambrose-Lowndes battle's reignited. We heard just a little bit of Oscar Fiorinotto on the radio to Craig Lowndes. So these guys have come back up in the 6th, 7th region.
Yeah, Lowndes is actually 5th now. So he's got Ambrose right behind him. So these two cars have set the track alight in race 1. They're bumper to bumper in race 2.
Up at FDR, the news isn't good for Stephen Richards. He was looking so promising this weekend, qualifying third, but now he has something wrong with his brake line up the back left corner. The team can't seem to fix it. It's still on the Jackson. He's been here for at least 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, we saw Jason Bargwanna in trouble with faulty brake lights at Adelaide. He just came down very tough on that situation. Look at this battle here, though, between Lowndes and Marcus Ambrose fighting over 5th position.
And the track of the Silver Falcon's just 3 feet wider than it was before he left the pit lane. I spoke to John Matthews from Ford Ticket Racing between the races. He's the general manager of the show, and he couldn't believe their luck after Glenn and Stephen qualifying well, and then it looked like they were on target for a great result in that first event, and then they got trapped with the safety car. And Glenn's buried in the field at the moment. Stephen's in the pit lane. Another one gets through the fingers.
So Mark Scaife is leading this one. Jason Bright, 4 seconds behind his teammate. Paul Radisich in 3rd. John Bauer in 4th. Craig Lowndes in 5th. Marcus Ambrose 6th. McLean in 7th. Seaton in 8th. Todd Kelly in 9th. Jason Bargwanna in 10th. Tander now clawing his way back after another wretched start to the weekend. He's in 11th.
You have to say the HRT, I mean, they're really brilliant. They do get some good luck as well, though, don't they? You know, you go down a sewer and come up with a salmon and beat jams syndrome, isn't it? It's,
well, this is how they win championships, Baz. I mean, so many times you've seen them in a situation where perhaps the weekend hasn't started off well for them, but they have an incredible ability to dial these cars in, particularly over the course of the race day, and they're very, very strong when it counts.
Well, David Bernard has parked his Caltex Havilene Falcon. Now, what's the drama?
Unfortunately, mate, everyone was keeping it pretty tidy there, and I've just been turned around by Bargwanna. There's some blue paint right on the rear corner there of the car. What can you do? You know, there's a few more races left yet in the season, and we'll just have to get stronger from here.
Tough year so far for you.
Yeah, it has, mate. And unfortunately, we were doing well this race, keeping out of trouble, doing all the right things, and to end it like that, to get turned around like that's a real shame. Now we'll be pre-qualifying again.
Hard luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, that is a factor. That's a factor, isn't it? He goes back to the pre-qualifying situation on Friday, because the first 32 placed cars what determines whether you have to pre-qualify or not from the previous round. So now he's got to do it again. He had to do it on Friday here as a result of the terrible outing he had in Adelaide. Now he's got to do it again in Pitt Valley.
I feel sorry for old David. He's had a terrible year so far, and it's...
you couldn't have a worse start, could you?
The worse it gets, because it gets on top of you in the end. You can't stop thinking about what a terrible year you're having.
Marcus Ambrose has recorded the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:33 flat. He, in fact, virtually everybody at the top of the order is in the 33s at the moment. The sun's gone behind the cloud, but can have an immediate effect on lap times.
There's the split between Mark Scaife leading this race and Craig Lowndes in 5th. Just under 16 seconds.
And Lowndes made 4 positions in the pit lane on the opposition. Again. So, you know, they're still proving that wasn't a fluke at Phillip Island.
So Mark Scaife continues where he left off in 2000, dominating at Eastern Creek, 4.6 seconds in front of his teammate Paul Radisich in 3rd. Look at that line of Fords. John Bauer, Craig Lowndes, Marcus Ambrose, McLean doing well in the Paragon car in 7th.
And Kelly, Bargwanna, Tander, Morris, Ingle, Jones, Johnson and McConville. We hope you're enjoying the Shell Championship Series on Network 10, your home of motorsport. The shadows are getting longer. Lap 15 of 26 for Mark Scaife, race leader, race 2, round 3, Shell Championship Series from Eastern Creek. And he's got a margin of 4.8 seconds over Jason Bright. Then Paul Radisich, John Bauer, Craig Lowndes in 5th, Marcus Ambrose and Cameron McLean 7th, Glenn Seaton, Todd Kelly, Jason Bargwanna. One bloke who we were watching early on who's tumbled, and I don't know why, might not just have the pace. Brad Jones down in 14th now. So maybe he got a little bit of a shove or that car deteriorated. This is Stephen Richards. We heard before from Grant telling us that he had some problems and was stuck in the pit lane, obviously been rectified. Can't see Stephen in the top 27 on our timing monitor.
It's been an encouraging result for Cameron McLean. He's currently 7th. Queenslander, and after having a wretched, there he is in the distinctive yellow and white car just in front of the FTR Ford. So this will be a good strong result for Cameron McLean and the Greenfield Mowers team if they can bring this one home. Fastest lap, as Neil mentioned before, Marcus Ambrose 1:33.00 set back on lap 11, where lap 16, 17. So the the race really now just settling down into something of a rhythm.
Oh, right a bit wide.
Kelly actually looked like he was about to run wide at turn 1, but he kind of gathered it up a little bit as well. He's obviously got a bit of incentive to keep pushing on there at the moment. He's in 9th. He's looking for points, but he's right on the 9th edge. Bargs is back in 10th. Teammate Tander 11th. Fortunes have changed, unfortunately, for the Valvoline Cummins team as we go on board with Garth. Had a yak to both the boys this morning before the warm-up, and it's just that they know what's wrong with the cars. They can't quite put their finger on why. And it's been a tough start to the championship. It's remarkable how things change. Look at that sun as you come out of the back of Corporate Hill, out of turn 8 in the braking area for 9. It's quite difficult as the afternoon wears on to pick your braking point down there, and particularly when we get to this time of the year.
It used to be really bad at the end of the straight when the drag guys had been there. The circuit would be really shiny, and the sun had shined. You could see even standing in the pitch.
No, it's not the 4-man bobsled team, nor are these guys getting ready for the downhill luge. These are the pit crew members for Big Kev Racing for Paul Morris. And Paul's crew was so concerned after that incident where the gantry came down in Adelaide and hurt one of Mark Larkham's members that they went out and they've got these helmets that are more akin to skiing, but it improves their safety during the course of that busy time in pit lane.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea when you have what happened to Kenny McNamara at Adelaide when that gantry came tumbling over. I think Terry Morris and Big Kev got a bit of a scare at Oran Park last year too with that horrific accident involving Paul Morris. Really has put woken them up to every safety precaution you can possibly take's worthwhile doing, and there's a classic example of it there.
It's a good idea, and you see examples of it in Formula 1 and also Champ Cars. That it's mandatory in both those categories of racing to protect the guys.
On board the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. And if you've never seen this before, this is telemetry coming directly from this car. Road speed on the left of screen, engine revs on the right, gear position and brake applications.
Let's have a listen for half a lap or so with the Valvoline Cummins Holden.
Tander, Russell Ingles stormed through on the inside of turn 1. Pretty gutsy move. And they find their way out of turn 2. So Ingle then taking Tander for 11th position.
Well, he's being very courteous with his left-hand indicator on there too, Russell. I might just pull out and pass you down the inside at turn 1. What do you think? We touched on the subject of Champ Cars before, and they're running in Texas this weekend on the high-banked oval. And for those of you that follow the Champ Cars, I can tell you that Kenny Bradford, Team Rahal, has pole position. Don't forget to join Bill Woods and myself tomorrow night on Network 10 as we go on board with Russell Ingall.
Alex Zanardi's 6 as well, isn't he?
Yes, he is. A bit of a recovery after having a tough first couple of rounds.
Mark Scaife, meanwhile, has pumped out the gap between himself and Jason Bright to 5.5 seconds. Marcus Ambrose still has the fastest lap of the race, as you would expect this late in the day.
Remember that Russell is the ambassador for DreamDrive.tv. Check out the website, DreamDrive.tv, and you can play the racing game on the web.
There's Brad Jones. Still hanging on there, but he's lost a lot of track position after that stunning opening speed. He's back in 14th place now, but as his brother and team manager Kim said, he has been feeling crook today. There's Gary Rogers, team manager for the Valvoline Cummins team. And I wonder what will be going through his mind. He's always a very positive thinker, Gary, but I'm sure he'll be worried about the sudden loss of competitiveness of these cars. They were right there with HRT for most of 2000, and they've come into 2001. And it's just been a completely different story.
This is for position.
Sneaks up the inside of Cameron McLean. Now we'll be on the outside for the next turn. Turn 3, the Greenfield Mowers car's going to fight. They're going to go side by side as they come across the top. Hard break into turn 4. Tander swap sides. There could be contact there. No, he just pulls the nose of the Valvoline car. Bargwanna, I should say.
That was almost a great move, but Jason wisely got out at the right time, because that was definitely going to end up in pretty heavy contact.
Bargwanna doing a great job in that battle for 9th.
Remember Greg Murphy? Well, he's back in 15th at the moment after starting from pole, being adjudged to have rolled at the start, and he's steadily working away back there at the moment. He's actually got quite a lot of pace on. His last lap was a 1:33.9. In fact, he'd be very close to the quickest man on the circuit, Mark Skate, fractionally quicker on that lap. Clearly showing that he's got the car speed today, but things haven't gone his way.
On board with Craig Lowndes, sitting in behind John Bowe. Very impressive performance from the Caterpillar Ford team. I know I spoke to team manager Les Laidlaw just in the break.
See how long the guys carry the brake for on the way to turn 1. They've got the brake lights on all the way to the apex. You can actually carry your speed, which is about 265 odd Ks down the front straight, for a long time into the first turn here. Very unusual technique. And then you've got to steady the car down to the apex, and you can kind of drive it off the other side. It's not attacked and driven through in the normal manner.
Saying Les Laidlaw was showing me through this new car, and it's a beautiful piece of equipment, very nicely engineered, a lot of nice features on it, and John Bowe is certainly very happy with it. You can see the results here. He's running well inside the top 10. It's been a very difficult formation period for this team, but things coming together.
Still 6 laps to go, or a little less in fact, and with John in 4th and Craig right behind him, there's a possibility of manoeuvre here, so we'll keep an eye on this one. Pretty hefty margins between Scaife, Bright and Radicic, so this is the battle. John's always been a tiger when it comes to being defensive. He knows his rights, he knows where to put the car and how to get away with it, and right at the moment he's making sure that Craig stays right where he is. Here's the order on the Shell Helix race score. Scaife, Bright, Radicic, Bowe, Lowndes, Ambrose, Seaton and Kelly. Further back, it's McLean, Bargwanna, Ingle, Tander, Morris, Jones, Murphy and Johnson. Stick with us. We'll come back with the conclusion of race 2 in just a moment. Craig Lowndes glued to the back of John Bowe as we work towards the end of this second race at Eastern Creek International Raceway today. And he's really pressuring John, who's the sort of guy who tends to respond by digging in deeper. Not an easy guy to get around. I mean that in a professional sense. Yeah. He's a good, solid, hard charger.
He would just be relishing this opportunity. He's complained that he's been caught up in so many incidents. There's Fred Gibson watching on, the team manager of the Gibson Motorsport operation. But John was saying that it's been a very tough couple of seasons, because he's found himself further back in the pack than he'd like to be, and there's been plenty of pushing and shoving and elbowing. And now he's got himself up into the top echelons of the grid. He's actually got some enjoyment back into his driving. He's really enjoying his weekend at Eastern Creek.
Of those that have been penalised in this race, and the notables are Lowndes, Ambrose and Murphy. Lowndes is the guy who's done the best in terms of the recovery. He's got Ambrose behind him, and Bargs is off.
I bet that was with Cameron McLean. There was a real...
This is turn 9, the hairpin behind the pits.
Real battle going on between his car and the Greenfield Mowers machine. He's just been spat off there at turn 9. Plenty of damage on the side of the car.
John turning in a little later than Craig into 1. This time Lowndes is a little bit better position, but Bowe just moves gently across to the left. This is how close they get. But remember that bump that we saw Ambrose give to Murphy in race 1? That can cost you now. Here's a replay of what happened.
Oh, no. Ingle up inside.
Yes, it is. Russell Ingle gets halfway down the outside of Jason Bargwanna, leaves his signature in the door. Here's another view of that, and Parks comes off second best. Puts a bit of...
It's interesting watching that battle between John Bowe and Craig Lowndes. If Lowndes gets in front of Bowe, that'll bump Bowe off the podium. He could be standing on the podium this afternoon if he stays where he is, which would be a great moment for the Caterpillar team. So Bowe's fighting not only for track position, but a position on the podium as well.
As you say, JB's really good at making his thing wide. Well, in a nice way. He's not really sort of dirty or anything, is he? Good job.
I'm down here with John Cotter, who's watching his old mate Peter Dillman go around. You're at the sidelines at the moment. Now, you two have been to Bathurst longer, or the second longest pairing at Bathurst for quite some time, but you're calling it a day, John.
Yeah, well, that's right. Unfortunately, there comes a time in your life, when you run out of money, and with Gatorade going, because they've gone and been taken over, we don't have a sponsor, so we don't have the money, and therefore age catches up.
It's been a fair motorsport marriage between you and Dorman. As I said, second longest to Reed and Ashby.
Yes, we've been together now for 12 years. We've done 12 Bathursts together. It's been a huge success for us, but I'm now 3 days, well, I've always been 3 days older than Larry Perkins, so maybe there's a message for Larry.
We all wish you the best in the afterlife, mate.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, great battle here. Craig Lowndes all over the back of the Caterpillar Falcon. John Bowe fighting to stay on the podium.
The rear tyres on the Cat car are looking a bit second-hand, I'd say. You can just tell by the way John's just eggshelling this car around the circuit at the moment.
Close.
Lowndes now. Look at this. Very, very close stuff. Lowndes going to take a risk and stick the nose of that car up the inside somewhere.
Right about now, if you're John Bowe, it's when you don't want 600 horsepower. You're using the throttle and you're doing it with the barest of pressure, gently bringing throttle in. See him glance up at the mirror there, and that 00 thing's still right behind me. He's vulnerable here.
Traffic coming up here. It's like approach turn 9. And Tyler Mecklin gives them plenty of racing room. They duck down the inside.
That was great courtesy. Very good.
Can John Bowe hold out this asserted charge from Craig Lowndes in the dying moments of this race? Mark Scaife, Jason Bright, Paul Radisich up ahead of them. Top 3 are pretty static. 2 laps remaining for the race leader, but John Bowe and Craig Lowndes still haven't sorted out this fight over 4th. Bowe desperate to get onto the podium. It's been a long time between drinks for JB. Last time he won a Shell Championship round was back in 1998 at Winton. This would be nice to at least get on the podium. Be a big lift for the Queensland-based squad, John Briggs Motorsport. And there's our race leader, Mark Scaife. He's done it pretty much right today. Fought his way through to 4th. Got a great start as a result of those official rulings in between race 1 and 2. Found himself on the outside of the front row, and he just blasted off into the distance after Murphy had to serve his stop-go penalty for jumping the start. So it's been another thoroughly professional performance from Mark Scaife, the reigning Shell Series champion. Just another indication of how this team, this formidable team, consistently string championship wins together. Well, we thought there were a lot of people in here. We can report that the crowd this weekend, 32,300 people over the 2 days. Last year it was only 22,600, so a massive increase through the gate. Interest in V8 supercar racing continues to soar. This battle continuing.
Who's your money on then, at least? You'd have to say JB, wouldn't you, really? Because, well, it depends. Just looking at the back of JB's thing, it's all over the show.
Well, he just has to be delicate with the car now, and he's now got a rhythm, and the car probably hasn't dropped off any further. It's doing 35, so it's...
Well, things have been changing behind him too. This chase by Murphy. Murphy now has got in front of Paul Morris. He's got enough points. He's actually 3rd. He's on the podium now. So he's bumped Bowe off as a result of that move on Morris. Now Bowe is just fighting for track position. There's plenty of pride on the line here amongst these 4 teams. They go back on board with Craig Lowndes coming out of turn 2. 1 lap remaining for race leader Mark Scaife, but this one's not over by a long shot. If you're in this car, Neil, where would you be looking? Where's the hot spot?
That was one of them. Yeah. No, I just thought, well, he really lost a little bit of time. He just dragged it onto the rev limit on the gear shift from 3rd to 4th down the hill, and you can see John get away slightly, but you also get that concertina effect where you think you're closer than you really are. But the only other opportunity might now be coming into turn 9, so nice and gentle through the corner, Craig. John had to have another dab of the brake, so he's vulnerable here. Craig uses all the road. John comes and crisscrosses. It's about game, set and match. Sometimes you can just poke him up the inside between 11 and 12, but you've got to be in the right spot at the right time. But here's the man in the right spot at the right time, and it's Mark Scaife who takes the 2nd race at Eastern Creek. The team congratulate him. Great effort. Jason Bright takes second position. Paul Radisish will be third, and then this battle is resolved in favour of John Bowe for fourth, Craig Lowndes for fifth. Nothing he could do about it in the end. The crowd really appreciating today's racing. Marcus Ambrose will be sixth. Well, tremendous recovery by the Holden Racing team. That's the best way to
Incredible. You have to say they're simply the best, and that's all there is to it at the moment. There's no one can get near them. I mean, no matter what gets thrown at them, they still seem to come out on top.
Now, when you bumped into Scapey in the pits yesterday at about 5 o'clock, there's no way that he would have imagined, let alone anybody else, that he would have cleaned up this one. He was not happy.
Look at the crowd here, massive.
His last lap was a 1:34.5, so he still had good pace. Marcus Ambrose maintained the quickest race lap in that second event, 1:33 flat. That's Craig Lowndes, just pulling off the gloves. Greg Murphy, incidentally, who started strongly from pole, who worked his way up to 11th. We just heard a message that he has apologised on the radio to his team for messing one up.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Very frustrating for him, but it's just everybody's under pressure in so many ways. The drivers, the teams, the team managers, the engineers and the officials. Here's the Shell Helix race score. Mark Scape, Jason Bright, 1-2 for HRT from Paul Radisish, John Bowe, Craig Lowndes, Marcus Ambrose, Glenn Seaton, Todd Kelly. McLean, Tander, Murphy, Ingle, Morris, Jones, Johnson, McConville. Don't know what happened to Bradley, but he dropped off there. Bargwana, Perkins, McDougall, Longhurst, Larkham, Ellery, Wheel and Faulkner. And we're back to talk to the winners in just a moment. An elated Mark Scape takes the round win here at Eastern Creek. Tremendous performance. Who'd have thought that was possible this time yesterday afternoon? And here's the Shell Helix race score. Mark Scape takes the win from Jason Bright, Paul Radisish, John Bowe, Craig Lowndes. We thought he was going to be stronger, but that second race change of grid tumbled him down the order. Marcus Ambrose, Glenn Seaton, Todd Kelly, Cameron McLean. That's a great performance from Cameron. Garth Tander rounding out the top 10. Couple of blokes who did very ordinarily, probably not their fault to some extent, Glenn Seaton and Stephen Richards. Pretty tough day at the office for those guys. Now, Mark Osler is with the winners.
Well, the Holden Racing team have really dominated at Eastern Creek this weekend. The Fords may have reigned supreme in practice, but when the crunch really came, it was the TWR Australia team that really dominated. Put your hands together, folks. A wonderful effort. The man who had some problems of his own this weekend, but he managed to fight back to get his way on the podium. Put your hands together for Greg Murphy. Boy, what a weekend. You saw Lowndesy overtake under yellows, then you got caught by the officials. They're coming down hard this weekend, aren't they?
Well, that's what they said they'd do, and they're doing their job. And as long as they stay consistent and the fines are and the fences are dealt with the way they should, then so be it. But they got me as well, so I suppose it's even.
So the jump start, you admitting fault there?
Yeah, it started to roll, and I thought, oh no, here we go. And I hope no one would see it, but obviously they did. But anyway, just thanks to the guys. They've done an awesome job this weekend. The car was fantastic in qualifying, and we were very happy. And all today, the car went really well. The guys did great stops, especially the second race when we jumped a heap of people. And towards the end, the car was great. And I'm just wrapped to be on the podium. And thanks to all you guys for hanging around for this. Cheers.
How about that, folks? Greg Murphy, Kmart Racing. It looks like they're going to be a very strong force throughout 2001. In second place today, gee, we saw him do a terrific drive from the back of the field to the front just 3 weeks ago on the streets of Adelaide. Pretty much he's done it again this weekend. Put your hands together for Jason Bright. Well, you were saying it was a very difficult fight from the back at Adelaide. Looks like it was this weekend. That brand new car, it took you a while to get it dialed in, but look at this, you're up on the podium now.
Yeah, it's certainly been testing us this weekend, but full credit to the guys at Holden Racing team. We've been working hard at it, and if you had told me yesterday morning that we were going to be up on the podium, I probably would have snotted you one, but it's all came together, and I think we've got to thank the officials more than anyone, because they got rid of all the guys in front of us.
You blokes can do that yourself pretty effectively. Now tell me, the new car, you yourself, very strong combination. You said coming into this year, I'm joining Holden Racing team because I want to win the championship. Well, you're certainly delivering straight out of the box.
Yeah, it's all coming together. You know, we've got, I think, the next couple of rounds will certainly suit me a bit better. Here this weekend, it's just been a bit of a battle with the new car. So I think going back to Darwin, where I had my last win in the other company, it's we're looking good.
Holden Racing Team working well for you?
Yeah, it is. You know, they're a great bunch of guys, and you know, I think the results we've had so far show that.
Okay, put your hands together, folks. Jason Bright, second here, leading the championship coming into this one. Well, he really is the comeback kid. So many times the Holden Racing Team have done it. Mark Scaife, brilliant drive through to win this one. Put your hands together for Scaife. If I would have said you would have won this race yesterday, Brighty was talking about snotting me, I reckon you would have given me a hit as well.
Well, when I made such a stupid mistake in qualifying and caught both pedals and speared off and was 10th, I was pretty dark on myself last night, and the guys have done a fantastic job today. I mean, for Holden to have the three cars up here when you saw Lowndes and Ambrose and those guys going so well early, the boys have done an unbelievable job.
It's really good. You said that when Craig left the team, you really wanted a highly competitive teammate. Looks like you got one in Jason Bright. You guys are really at the top of the tree.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's what it's about. If you've got that, then you're trying to beat each other, and then you're trying to beat the rest. And there's plenty of competition up and down this pit lane now. It's probably the strongest touring car racing's been in history.
Congratulations, Mark Scaife. Now call on Ross Brodie, Motorsport Manager for Shell, to make the presentation to our winner. Put your hands together, folks. Mark Scaife, the big winner at Eastern Creek Raceway. All to unfold at Hidden Valley in a few weeks' time.
And here's the Progressive Championship points. And Jason Bright, after 3 rounds, is on top of the game with 940 from teammate Mark Scaife, 890. So that's a close little battle. Stephen Johnson, the best of the Fords, in third, 716. Then we've got Russell Ingall, Todd Kelly, Greg Murphy, pretty top-heavy in Holden land. Then Craig Lowndes is 7th. Marcus Ambrose, Glenn Seaton and Stephen Richards. Barry Sheen, today was a day that Ford, they had it all in the palm of their hands, and then one way or another it just got through. It was amazing.
Can't believe it, can you? I mean, this morning you would have said definitely there would have had to have been a Ford in the first 3, and they just don't seem to get the luck and don't put it together. I don't honestly know. You know, I'd have to say with Lowndesy, I think that was a very unfair call by the officials, because when you look at it, the onboard shot, it's going very, very quick around the left-hander, looking at the hairpin, can he get past Murphy or whatever it is? I really don't think that was fair.
And pretty tough for Marcus, because he was probably the first guy to feel the fury of the firmness that we're now seeing from the stewards, and he copped a penalty for it.
Well, the firmness today, but what about tomorrow? You know, what's the next one in Darwin? We'll have to wait and see, you know, but basically they've made a rod for their own back now, because from here on in, it's so professional, they have to do the same thing. So if they do that, no one's going to moan. We're not going to moan, and nobody else is.
And I think you've really got a feel for Glenn Seaton and Stephen Richards qualifying 3rd and 4th, and Glenn jumping off the line in that first race and bolting and then getting trapped by the safety car.
Well, exactly that. I mean, it's sod's law, isn't it? You know, really, basically, it could have happened to anybody. But now I think you'll find that the way things have panned out so far this year, the best thing is to come in nice and early, and there's no doubt about that.
And HRT get out of jail once again. Jason Bright, Mark Scaife and Greg Murphy, tremendous performance. Well, we've got a lot more motorsport coming up on Network 10. Tonight we have round 4 of the Superbikes from Sugo, Japan. Have they thawed out and dried off from last week at Phillip Island? At 11:30 it'll kick off. Tomorrow night, round 3 of the Kart World Series from Fort Worth, Texas, on the high banks there. Billy Woods and myself from 11:30 p.m. Check your local guides. And then in V8 Supercar land, we head up to Darwin in a couple of weeks' time. Sunday, 13 May, 2:30 through till 5 o'clock. It's on with the shorts and the sunnies, and it'll get nice and hot up in Darwin. We're looking forward for a continuation of the action. Well, we certainly hope that you have enjoyed our coverage today. It's been a red-hot round, lots to look at, plenty of discussion for the weeks to come. But before I close, I'd like to leave on a sadder note. A couple of weeks ago, we lost one of our great friends in V8 Supercar racing, Ken Potter. KP was one of the hardest workers for Avesco and also for the touring car entrance group. Not only did he help the series get to where it is today, but he was a great personal friend for many of us in the series, helped a lot of drivers, myself included, and many of the teams. KP passed away just last Sunday, and we are certainly going to miss him. And from all of us here at Network 10, we would like to dedicate this telecast to the memory of KP.